So I have 3 thoughts about the Beatitudes. I don't know how to make them into a tidy sermon, so I'll just throw them out to you. And if one of them sticks, then that's pretty good going, isn't it? The first thought is that really reading a biblical commentary about the Beatitudes yesterday afternoon, it completely changed the way I'd looked at this. Because you know the traditional interpretation of Jesus going up the mountain. That's what we heard here. Seeing the crowds, Jesus went up the hill, he sat down and was joined by his disciples. The traditional interpretation is that Jesus here is a symbol of the new Moses. Moses, in Exodus, didn't he, went up the mountain to meet the Lord. Jesus goes up the mountain. And the image of Jesus as the new Moses, the new teacher, the great prophet, who will explain the deepest meaning of the law for us, and especially important to St. Matthew's Jewish readers who were longing, how do we understand Jesus? Who is he? What does he mean for us? And look, this is true, I'm not undermining this. But just this got turned upside down in what I was reading yesterday, when the commentator was saying, actually it doesn't quite work. Because in Exodus 19, Moses goes up the mountain to speak to the Lord God. Moses is listening. The Lord God at the top of the mountain is speaking. So in the Beatitudes, who is the new Moses? The disciples. You see, the disciples go up the mountain with Jesus. They go up the mountain as Moses did. They sit down, they listen, and who are they listening to? Jesus, the Lord, the one who spoke to his people from the top of the mountain. The Lord God is present here in Jesus, and the disciples are representing Moses and the new Moses, and in fact representing you and I. So there's an even more powerful testimony to who Jesus is here. It's not just that Jesus is the new Moses, the new teacher, the new prophet, the new interpreter of the law. Jesus is the giver of the law, the one who gave the law to Moses, and the one who stands before us now as the living God incarnate. Very simple thought, but do you see how it changes things? So our faith, the faith that we celebrated at Christmas, our faith in the incarnation, our faith in Jesus Christ as the Son of God and true man, it's hidden away in this simple image of Jesus going up the mountain to teach his disciples. The second thought is about the very meaning of the word beatitude. This is what we call these teachings in English. We talk about the Beatitudes. I don't know what it is in some of your different languages. How blessed are the poor in spirit. How blessed are the gentle. This is the traditional translation. And beatitude means, from Latin, beatitudo, it means blessing, doesn't it? You're blessed. And the problem is that it's got slightly too much of a religious meaning. We read this, we read about, oh, God wants to bless us, and we think this is a religious meaning. These are religious blessings, maybe that God is giving to religious people. But in fact, the Greek behind here, and the sentiment that Jesus was speaking about, the Greek here is makarios, and it's not a religious word. It just means happy, fortunate, lucky, prosperous, things are going well for you, good on you. It's quite a neutral word and quite a common phrase. If you said to me, oh look, this has happened and I'm so happy, I might say to you, oh lucky you, or I'm so pleased for you. Yeah. In some ways it's less meaningful than a religious word, but because of that, I hope you see, it becomes more meaningful. Jesus isn't just saying these are some of the religious rules that you have to follow. He's saying these blessings, these sayings, they are the secret of all life. They are the things that your heart should be seeking all the time, not just when you come to pray. Put it another way, this is the meaning of life. And we get this, in fact, in our modern translation here, because I didn't say blessed, did I? I read out the text today, how happy are the poor in spirit, how happy the gentle, how happy those who mourn. And just by chance, as I was getting ready in my office before Mass, one of our Asian students came up to me with 2 oranges. Yeah, she thrust them upon me and said, Happy Chinese New Year. I said, great, I'm half Chinese, I can celebrate. It started yesterday, I think, didn't it? The Chinese New Year. And I said, what do the oranges mean? And she said, well, they mean a wishing that you would be prosperous and blessed and happy and fortunate and lucky. And it's exactly what Jesus is wishing us today. Not in a superstitious way, but in an ordinary human way of just, I wish you well, I hope things go well for you. Okay, but how do things go well for us? Yeah, if we value what Jesus is asking us to value, to be poor in spirit, to be gentle, to mourn, to hunger and thirst for what is right, to be merciful, to be pure in heart, to be peacemakers, and to accept persecution in the cause of right. We want to be happy, blessed, fortunate. Do we have these dreams, these values, these goals at the centre of our lives, or actually are we thinking about other things most of the time? I remember a few weeks ago we were thinking about value in some other context, and I said to you, how do you know what you value? And I said, infallible rule is whatever you spend your time and your money on. Just think about it. What have you spent your time in the last week on? What have you spent your money in the last week on? That's what you value. That's your Beatitudes. Does it match with the 8 Beatitudes I've just read? Have I spent time and money on these things? And I just throw in another one that struck me yesterday. It's also infallible, right? Think of the last week, or right now as you're sitting here, what are you worrying about? What are you worrying about? What are you anxious about? Any psychologist would tell you, that tells you what's really on your heart. And you're worried because you haven't got something that you'd long for, or you can't see a way forward to what you dream of, or someone else you love is missing or suffering because they don't have something precious and valuable. But what is the precious and valuable thing that you're worried about not having? That's your values. And I'm not saying they're all wrong, but they're probably not all right. And part of this meditation on the Beatitudes is to hold our values, our human everyday values, together with the values of Jesus, of the gospel, of our faith, the 8 Beatitudes, and see how do they match. And part of this is prayer and reflection, but part of it is just changing what we spend our time, our money and our worry on. This is conversion. I said in the talk on vocations on Friday that I gave the example of St. Ignatius of Loyola, who had his values turned upside down. Not quickly, not in one sermon on the Mount, in about 9 months or so, of how his whole value system was based around glory. As a young man, he wanted glory. And glory meant, in Spain in that period, to be a great knight, a soldier. So he went into battle. And before he could get his glory and get his badge and his celebrity, a cannonball smashed his knee to pieces. A horrific wound. It took him, it took him months to recover. He never recovered. He was in bed for months recovering, the wound didn't set right the bone. The doctor had to smash his knee apart again, and he said it was more painful than when the cannonball hit him in the first place. And it never healed properly, and he limped for the rest of his life. But that time in bed, it changed his value system, because he was dreaming of glory and battle and knighthood and chivalry, but at the same time he had time to pray and think and reflect. And a friend gave him a book of the lives of the saints, and he read this, and part of him was bored by it, but another part of him, it spoke to him, and he found that as he read about the saints, those who lived the Beatitudes, he felt a peace and a happiness, a beatitudo, a happiness, a blessing that he couldn't find in his dreams of worldly glory. And the rest, as they say, is history in terms of Ignatius's life and his foundation of the Jesuits. But it just shows you that sometimes we need to step back to have our lives interrupted. I hope it's not in that way for you, but to question our values and to allow the Lord to reshape them, not because he's banging with a stick on us, but because he wants to lead us to a better, happier life. This is what Christian conversion is about. And my last thought, slightly connected again, but you make of it what you will. I've talked about the Beatitudes. We talk about the 8 Beatitudes, don't we? But are there 8 Beatitudes? No, there's 9. Yeah? There are 8 tidy Beatitudes. Happy are, happy are, happy are. But at the end, Jesus says, happy are you when people abuse you and persecute you and speak all kinds of calumny against you on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven. In other words, the greatest blessing is to be willing to suffer for the sake of the 8 Beatitudes. It's like a meta-beatitude, to be a bit trendy and jargony. Yeah? You read these blessings, you think, aren't they wonderful? I'd love to live them. But the greatest blessing, and in fact the most important moment of conversion, is accepting, realising that to live them is going to cost you something. And this is, for many of us, the sticking point. We want to be Christian. Okay. And then we read the Beatitudes, or the moral teaching of Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, or the vision and the moral teaching of the church, and we think, okay, I'm Catholic, here we go. But then something happens, small, medium-sized, big, and we realise that to actually live this, to witness to it, to bring it into my own life, to speak it to others, to live it at work, in studies, in the lab, in politics, with my friends, with my family, to actually live this is going to make life in some ways more difficult, not less difficult. That there's a cost. And it will involve suffering. It will involve great joy. That's the final line. Rejoice and be glad. But there is a cost. There's the question for us. Are we willing to accept that there will be a cost? And happy about that. And the last image to go with this, for me, it's so powerful. Many of you already have seen this film Silence, haven't you? Yeah, this Scorsese film about the Japanese martyrs in the 17th century. And I won't tell you the whole story, just that the witness of the faith of the Japanese Christians themselves and of their European friends and brothers and missionaries, and the tragic, heartbreaking choices they had to make. But how did the Japanese authorities ask them to renounce their faith? It's very visual. They took a picture about this big, about 8 inches big, an icon of Jesus on the cross, maybe, or of Mary, the Virgin Mary holding Jesus, They took this icon and they placed it on the floor. They called it a fume or something, I think. They placed this fume, this icon, on the floor. And they said, all you have to do is just step on it. Just tap your foot on it. That's all we want. Yeah? I'm not asking you to run around in the streets renouncing Jesus Christ. I'm not asking you to radically change your life. Just come forward in the market square and stand on this image of Jesus. And that'll be enough for us to know that you've renounced your faith. And how easy it must have been for some of those Christians to think, oh, what does it matter? Yeah, what does it matter? It's just a picture. It's just a foot. Everyone knows I'm Christian, really. What does it matter? Wouldn't it be better if I just did this and then I could do all the other important things still and live my faith a bit more quietly? But it did matter. It did matter because this was the invitation in front of the whole community and in front of God to say, do you believe in me or not? And are you willing to live your faith and to tell others that you believe in me or not? And the tragedy, the heartbreak was there wasn't an in-between answer. There wasn't an in-between answer. So us, let's try and say yes. A wholehearted, simple, childlike yes. We don't know where it will lead. We pray that we won't be in that position. But we pray if we are in the position of those Japanese martyrs, we would be able to say yes.